Now, we have had great panels that came before us, but as lawyers and finance people, there were a few things that, got us a little concerned. And I guess I look at it as just like doctors. When we go to the doctor, we're saying, oh, we're fine, we're fine, we're fine. We don't really think about the health issues. It's the same thing with a business. Business has health issues, and the health issues most times are in finance and law. So we're gonna start off by each panelist just giving you a short statement as to why they went into the area of expertise there. Dominique, can you start?
Yes, hi everyone, how are you doing? So my name is Dominique Broadway. She said I'm a financial planner, personal finance coach. I started out, and most importantly, I'm an entrepreneur. I started out working for high net worth individuals at major brokerage firms. I was a trader, so basically helping the uber wealthy, the 50, 60 million, the people that you all want to be your angel investors one day. Basically helping them manage their money. And I absolutely hated my job. It was absolutely horrible. I was super depressed, and so I quit my job in 2011. And started my company, Finances Demystified, and basically we just help young professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives to understand their money, how it works, and basically just help you using your money as a tool to bring your dreams to reality.
And Joycelyn?
Is this on? Okay. So for me, I know that a lot of people think this, the leap from engineering over to law is somewhat of a curious one. It doesn't really make sense. But what I can tell you is that in working in engineering, and I love it, and I still love it, I found myself in a position where I had a job and I was working for someone else. I didn't really see myself, I have a more creative side, which is different from most engineers, but I wanted to actually contribute and have something that was a little bit more rewarding in terms of a career. So I made the decision to make that career change and move over to the law. When I first started working in the law, it was great. I was working for a very large firm, similar to what Dominique is saying. Worked for a very large firm and doing what I was told to do and billing an exorbitant amount of money on projects or on cases where rather than spending 20 hours, there would be maybe a very simple workaround that would only take 2 hours. So after years of doing that, I made the decision, you know what, I want to have a little bit more control over my interface with my clients. I want to be able to genuinely help my clients as opposed to just putting money in somebody else's pocket. So with that being said, I started my own law practice, so I am also an entrepreneur as well. And it's been very rewarding being able to really genuinely help my clients achieve their goals in a reasonable way.
Thank you. And speaking of clients, my first question to you is, when your clients first come to you, at what stage of their business development are they?
I'll just be I have two types of clients. I have clients who are proactive and clients who are reactive. You find more so the clients who are reactive are the ones who are just actively just chasing after you. These are the clients who wait until something is wrong, when there's a legal issue where they realize that their invention is out on the market because somebody else has it, or they can't get that trademark, or they're having some issues with some licensing agreements. I mean, that's the typical stage. And what I try to do is I try to counsel those clients and to encourage their colleagues to say, let's be a little bit more proactive, let's hold off, and before you jump in, let's think about all of the necessary implications of the actions that you're going to be taking.
As a follow-up to that then, what is your stance on the statements that are made about as soon as you get the idea, just start as an attorney?
Okay. What I would say is it's kind of like when you see a fire, right? They say just run. You want to check yourself first. So it's stop, drop, and roll. So with respect to when you have an idea, you need to stop. You need to think about it. You need to take into consideration what market you're going into and how you're going to go about doing that. If you have any intellectual property rights, and we're all here because technology includes intellectual property, if you have any intellectual property rights, what are they? How can they be protected? Those are the things that you should consider before you just jump in. But more importantly, when you have an idea, sometimes people are so proud of themselves, they want to shout it from the mountaintops. Keep your mouth shut first before you can consider it. Talk to an attorney, get a non-disclosure agreement, get that executed. And the reason why I say keep your mouth shut is because oftentimes, and I've heard about this, you know, from many people here, I've heard about it from other individuals in discussing on panels and also from my clients, where someone comes up with an idea, shares that idea with other people, and then it gets stolen. And then where are you? You feel burned, but what can you do about it?
Just to add to that, I'm an IP attorney as well, and what you do need to consider though is the industry. As you said, look into the market. The gentleman that was here before was correct, because manufacturing is one of those that doesn't get as much protection. Fashion doesn't get as much protection as, say, technology or the patent world. You have to do things at a particular time. So for those individuals, they may need to act that way because fashion changes so quickly. So you have to know the market you're going into, speak to an attorney, and make the determination as what you need to do. Now, Dominique, same question for you. At what stage do the clients come, and you can do the follow-up as well as to,
Yeah, so clients come to me probably very similar. They're really, I guess there's really just only two types of clients in the whole world, proactive or reactive. So I'll have, I work with individuals and not necessarily companies, but these individuals are starting companies, right? So there's always the one person who comes to me and they're like super planner, like, Dominique, I'm starting this company and I know I'm going to need, to use this much money. How much should I use? Should I take it out of my 401k? Should I take money out of my house? Should I use my credit cards to fund the company? What should I do? And then there's the other person who comes and like, oh my goodness, Dominique, I have this idea, my business is doing pretty well, but I need money to go to the next level, but my credit is shot, defaulted on my student loans. What should I do? And I'm like, okay, it's kind of hard to get your credit up in a month so that you can get these loans, but I think that those are the things that people don't think about a lot of times, right? So it's like, yay, we have this business idea, let's do this. But from a financial perspective, if you're looking for investors or whoever may be, a lot of times people don't know this, but it takes a while for your business to build up credit. And until your business builds up credit, do you know whose credit they're checking? Yours. And if it's shot, it can a lot of times really ruin your possibilities of getting the funding and things of that nature. So those are probably some of the two types of clients. I've got to follow up with.
Well, the next question is, what roadblocks have your technology clients experienced in trying to get from idea to success?
Okay, and so I guess kind of similar. It's a lot of times it is just the financial part and not really planning financially. And a lot of times people will start businesses and not thinking, okay, I have this idea, and you can't just open up a stand on the street and start selling whatever you're selling. There's things that go into it. You may need to hire a graphic designer. There's hosting fees. You may have to hire an attorney to do your LLC or your S corp or whatever it may be. So those are some of the initial roadblocks where a lot of times entrepreneurs, as I'm an entrepreneur and I have ADD, I could make a new business every 5 minutes. I'm sure a lot of us feel that way. I mean, I made like 6 businesses in my mind just I think today alone. And one I think I'm trying to bring to Jamaica, thanks to Miss Ingrid over here. So because of that, because we're constantly trying to start business, we don't a lot of times think about the full plan, and it's really important to think about all the different financial aspects or financial things that go into play when you're starting your business. So, those are some of the things that I've seen have been roadblocks, and I, hope more entrepreneurs would take the time to fully think out their idea and what goes into making it, happen and turn it into a reality.
5 steps that you would give the clients if you got them before they made the errors to get to the success. 5 steps. So, people can write it down and try to follow.
Okay, so step number 1, if you have an idea, when you have your idea, write it down. Step number 2, before you speak to anyone, consider getting a non-disclosure agreement and also a non-compete. Now, there are some people who feel a way about the non-disclosure, non-compete, but what I can say is this: it is a contract, and like any contract, the language can be modified. You can make a non-disclosure, non-compete agreement to be very strict, or you can make it be very broad and more loose. The bottom line is you want to make sure that you protect yourself, you protect your idea, and you protect your business. Number 3, do a business plan. Get a sense of what it's going to take to start it. This is where it ties into the finance. But when you, as part of a business plan, you do a market analysis. You get to know what your industry is, what your competitors are. Number 4, identify what your intellectual property rights are and what the value of those intellectual property rights. Now, oftentimes people think intellectual property, oh my gosh, is it only a trademark? No, it can be a trade secret. You know, going back to Coca-Cola, the Coca-Cola recipe is a trade secret. Its value alone resides in its secrecy, okay? So you might have an idea where the value of your idea resides in the secrecy of your idea. You can still put your product out there on the market, but it resides in your secrecy. Or you may have a patent or a variety of different intellectual property rights. For example, and just one quick example, we're going back to manufacturing clothing, okay? I dealt with a client once who patented the design of the button. They came up with the initial square button. All buttons are round. You mostly see round buttons. You saw the square button. You're like, oh wow, it's a square button. This is kind of cool. Well, it's patented. Okay, so that's just something to consider. And then number 5 would be to actually protect your intellectual property rights. Do what you need to do. Oftentimes, people will say, oh, I can do this myself. I don't need to hire an attorney. You know what? I can tell you, I've seen this many, many times. Again, this is the difference between being proactive versus reactive. You decide to do it yourself. You want to, save a couple of dollars, and then something happens and it blows up in your face, and you think you're scrambling, trying to figure out how can I fix this? How can I protect myself? Well, it takes more effort, more resources, more financial support to correct an intellectual property mistake than it does to do it the first time around. So that's what I would consider.
Yeah, so from a financial perspective, there's a lot of things that you can do. I think, first of all, when you're starting your business, or even if you already have your business, really deciding if you're going to continue working your full-time job and doing your business on the side, or whatever option you decide to do, but also really just understanding how much your expenses are as an individual. So basically trying to figure out how much does your business need to bring in when it first starts so that you can do it full-time. I've seen people, really silly, but come to me and say, hey Dominique, my business is making $1,200 a month. I think I'm going to quit my job. I'm like, what are you talking about? It costs $3,000 just to run yourself alone. Why are you going to quit? And I'm like, I think next month's going to be better. I don't see how, unless you have some big thing happening, but other than that, it's not realistic. And as an entrepreneur, we're crazy. You have to be a little bit sane, right? So we're like, oh no, I can make things happen next month to make the extra $3,000 or $4,000. But if you don't have a real plan in place, don't lie to yourself, right? So know how much it costs to actually run yourself, but also know how much it costs to run your business. Your business is something that's separate. Think about all the different expenses. There's a lot of things that like I said, hiring an attorney, which is very, very important. I think someone told me you don't know that you have a real business until you get sued or something like that. I know and I was like, wow, that's scary. And then of course I get a letter from like Getty Images, like take this image down. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a real business. But anyway, but yeah, so also really understanding how much it costs. So the hosting fees every month, or all these different things. I know like people use FreshBooks or Quicken, all these different expenses that come. It adds up. All these different online tools that we use, it can end up being hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month, and a lot of times we don't think about that. So really understanding your business expenses, which could be using, a free tool like Mint.com. It's made for personal finances, but you can totally use it to track your business expenses as well. QuickBooks is another tool. They just redesigned it. Now it's like much cuter to use. And Wave Apps is another really cool program that you can use to track your business spending and just to help create those financial statements that most of us don't know how to do. But if we plug in, hey, this is how much our business is bringing in, this is how much the expenses are, it will create all those fancy statements for you that you need. In addition to that, outside of just cash flow, also check your credit. Like, you can't ignore your credit and everything else when you're starting your business. A lot of times entrepreneurs, like, my business is my baby. I nurture it all day, every day, but you still have to worry about yourself, right? So make sure that your personal finances are healthy, checking your credit score. Like I said, sometimes investors will ask you, hey, or if you go to a bank or certain programs will request to see your personal credit score, and you don't want that to be the reason why you can't get the funding to take your business to the next level and to make more money. So, using free tools like Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, Credit.com, AnnualCredit.com, get your, don't go to freecreditreport.com because it's not free. but annualcreditreport.com. You know, get your credit report every year, and just make sure it's clean. And even with student loans, I know that's a big issue, which I've seen has hindered a lot of business owners from taking their business to the next level. But also, it's hindered a lot of millennials from buying homes and things like that. You know, if you can't pay your student loans, call the student loan company, see if you can work something out. But just make sure you can keep your own finances in tip-top shape before you make that leap. And also just so you can have more access to funds to put and grow into your business. So those are, I guess, some of the things that you can do now from a personal financial standpoint. So
I know both of you get this all the time, so I'm going to ask it of you. What if I really just don't have any money, but I have this great idea? What do I do? What would you tell them to do?
I would say there's a lot of things you can do. I'm a financial planner, so I'm like, strategically, I call myself strategically spontaneous. But at the end of the day, I quit my job with no plan. I went to my boss who owned the company, and he hired me to take over his firm. And he makes about $1.2 million a year, and I would have been in line for that. He was gonna retire, I was gonna take over the financial plan. It was like a dream situation for a financial planner, and I just was so unhappy. I went to him one day and was like, I just really can't do this anymore. So thank goodness he was also my mentor, and he said, okay, we'll lay you off so you can get unemployment. I'm like, thanks. So I had unemployment, savings, things of that nature, and I didn't know what I was gonna do. I just knew that I needed to help people, and millennials, we wanna save the world. I wanted to help people, and I wasn't doing it there, and I didn't have a plan. So I didn't do it the way that I would tell anyone else to do it. So I would say just start. And if that means you have to take the leap, for me personally, I fear regret more than I fear failure. And I felt like the worst case scenario is I would lose my condo, my car would get repossessed, and I would have to move back home with my parents. That was the worst case scenario, which for me wasn't that bad. None of that happened, just so you know. But for me, it wasn't that bad. So I would say if you don't have the funds, don't necessarily quit your job like I did, but use any extra time. If that means waking up an hour earlier in the morning to work on your business, or an hour after, or trying to even volunteer or with someone or organization that maybe is in the line of work that you want to be in. Checking out resources, there's a great tool called Co-Founders Lab, and a lot of times you can say, hey, I have this thing that I'm starting, but what I'm missing is capital. You could possibly find someone that has that void. I'm building a personal financial management tool now, and I'm obviously not a tech person. I consider myself a tech person. I'm not like a real tech person. And I went on there and was able to find someone to help me create what I needed, but I couldn't afford to hire a developer, right? So it's all about using your resources and who you know. And I heard a small child say something, actually, was saying that God actually provides everything that we really need. It's up to us to go get it. And I think a lot of times people use capital as an excuse. And if you look at some of the most successful companies, really in the world, a lot of them actually didn't start with a lot of money. A lot of them started with like $1,000, $5,000, and really just a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So I would say really just do it. Think about your resources. Think about the people that you know. If you do share your idea, I think it's a good idea to share your idea, strategically share your idea, so that after you speak with you about signing the NDA or whatever. But sharing your idea is really important. Most of the business and places that I've been able to go to is because I've been able to share what I'm doing or what I'm trying to do, and it's opened doors. So talking about your idea can really help you find the resources that you need to get started if you don't have any money.
So there are a couple of things that I echo, definitely, that Dominique said. Know what your resources are. Know your network. Oftentimes it's said that your network is your net worth. So know your network. Know who can help you, whether or not it's someone who can mentor you, someone who can help you out financially. The second thing I would say is people often, this was something that was said in some fashion in prior panels, but people often help those who help themselves, right? So don't just go and say, oh, I have this really great idea, I don't know what to do, I don't have any money, give me money, or give me some sort of guidance and assistance. Do your homework, read those trade magazines, get the knowledge that you need. Become an expert in what you're doing. And then the last thing I would say is just particularly from a legal standpoint, because oftentimes people are hesitant to engage a lawyer because of the financial costs that are associated with bringing a lawyer on board. There is this really great thing that happened in the law back in 2007, 2008. It was called the recession. These large firms, right, were charging these really high numbers, high dollars for legal services. Their clients were walking away. And so these firms could no longer afford to retain their associate staff, the associate attorneys. They let a lot of these attorneys go. Those attorneys then in turn started their own firms, either went solo or started boutique firms, okay? And you can get the same level of services for a fraction of the cost. So that's something to take into consideration. You don't always have to go to these large firms. You can go to a smaller firm, a solo practitioner firm, Brown Intellectual Property Law Firm, PA. That's a plug. Okay, but anyway, but in all seriousness, at the end of the day, one of the things that you should consider is don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to go to an attorney and say, I have a great idea. To be honest with you, I don't have any capital right now. I'm in the process of working with the financial planner to get that capital, but I know that I need legal protection. Is there anything that you can do to help me get off the ground? Is there a form contract that you have that you may be able to help me out with? Something along, you would be surprised what a lawyer would be able to do. If they have that flexibility, you'd be surprised what a lawyer would be able to do to help you. Because if you believe in yourself, and you project that belief and that positivity to other people are going to believe in you. And when those people believe in you, they'll invest in you. They'll invest their time, they'll invest their money. They'll invest their resources and say, you know what, I may not be able to help you, but I know someone who can. So don't sell yourself short. My mother used to always say, if you don't ask, well, let me rephrase it. If you ask and you get a no, you're in the same position you were in if you never asked at all. So there's no harm in it. There's no harm. So just ask, and you never know what you're going to get.
Oh, and one more thing I wanted to add. Like you said, your network is your network. It really is true. That's one of those things when I was younger, I was like, whatever, that makes no sense. How does that happen? But really, I'm learning, putting yourself out there is so important. And I think someone mentioned it yesterday, saying how, what was it saying, like coders are not, introverts? Something like that. Anyway, I don't think that's true, but I'm not a coder. But I think it's really important to put yourself out there. And I think, coming to conferences like this and really just exposing yourself and being out there and sharing what it is that you do and what you're passionate about will really help to get you where you need to go. I know I actually met Derek, Felicia, and Michael in Atlanta, in November, and we were on a marketing hackathon group together, and I was excited because I had never been able to participate in a hackathon, so I did code, so I was like, hey, marketing, I know this, right? And then I met them there, and now I'm here at Black Tech Week, and from that one conference, I also got another nice-sized contract to help a camp build a financial literacy program, and the lady saw me because we were presenting our marketing plan, which we should have won, but anyway, that's another story. Right, we're still talking about that. But anyway, just because I was up there presenting, and I was presenting on a marketing plan for a conference, and she didn't even know I was in the realm of financial literacy. And I walked away with a contract. We talked after, and she's like, "Where do you live?" And I said, "Bethesda, Maryland." And she was like, "No way. I live in Bethesda, Maryland. We're in Atlanta." I was just like, wow, it's so crazy, but it just really shows how putting yourself out there and walking up and saying, hey, I'm Dominique Broadway, I do blah, blah, blah. What do you do? It can, just save you so much time. So that's my last thing.
So I want to open up to questions right now because this area is very important to everyone here. So we wanted to make sure you had enough time to ask questions. So do we have any questions? Remember to give your name and your company, please.
Ingrid from Connect to Mass. I have actually two questions, one for each of you actually. Joycelyn, that's such a Jamaican name, but anyway. How do you navigate the scenario where there are entrepreneurs who are seeking investment, whether on an angel level or a VC level, and they may be approaching the individual and say, hey, we want to do some business. But then the investors do not want to sign an NDA because it's okay, you don't know if your idea is worth anything. So no, we're not going to go and do that anyway. And then to Dominique, is part of your process to help an entrepreneur identify maybe cash or assets in their lives that everybody know could be used for their business?
Okay. Yeah, so I do help people identify, if there is cash. A lot of times people don't even think about some of the money that they may have. Now, people usually come to me and they're like, I want to take the money out of my 401k, and I'm like, oh no, let's not do that yet. Let's wait, But I think there are other resources. A lot of times, especially when entrepreneurs have really good credit, there's a lot of tools and financial resources that are immediately available that they don't even know about. And obviously, I just love technology. So two really great resources that one of my friends who owns a trucking company, and it grew really rapidly, but because just like everyone else, it grew so fast that he didn't sometimes have enough money to fulfill some of the big contracts. He got a contract with Toys R Us and Walmart. I don't know anything about the trucking company, but I know he's having a funding issue. He has great credit, and he has great credit, but for some reason banks just weren't really approving him because he had a mortgage and other things like that. And I introduced him to Kabbage.com. He went to Kabbage last Tuesday, applied to get like a line of credit, and got $50,000 the next day. And the rates weren't even crazy or anything like that. And that's something that is just based off of his sales. They base it off of his track record and the sales through his business. And another one is Fundbox, which is basically they advance you on any of your outstanding invoices. And these are two things that can give you capital within 2 to 3 days, right? And these are just some things that I think a lot of times people are eligible for, they just don't know about. But I know all this stuff. I have all these resources in my head, but people don't ask, right? But a lot of times if I see someone struggling, I'll say, hey, you should try this. It's free, you can pay it back over 6 months, the rate isn't crazy, it's affordable, and they're like, oh my goodness, I just got, $10,000, I can fulfill this order, I can do, whatever I need to do. So yeah, I do that. Those are just 2 things, if you guys need capital, try it out. Actually, Kabbage they're based in Atlanta, and they just started another thing. The Kabbage is for businesses. They started another one for personal loans as well, if you do need like a personal loan. I can't remember what it's called. It has something like Kabbage, like another lead.
Can you give them your email address?
Yeah.
So that,
yeah, it's my website is DominiqueBroadway.com. You can Google it, or if you can't spell Dominique Broadway. And then you can contact me on there. My email is dbroadway@DominiqueBroadway.com. But I'll be around. Can't remember all that. So yeah.
Okay, so just to restate the question that was asked, what does a startup or someone who a tech company do when they have an idea, they're looking for funding, there may be a venture capitalist or investor on board, but that person is hesitant or refuses to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So what I would say is this: there is value in any idea that someone has. Okay, there's value in any idea, and I would say number one, to be kind of cautious. When someone who has those deep pockets and is willing to give money and is hesitant about signing some type of confidentiality agreement. You want to make sure that so my business tagline is protecting you, your business, and your ideas. That's my business tagline. That's what I truly, truly believe in doing. But with that protection comes some level of I hate to say, just kind of common sense, right? If you're saying, hey, I have this really great idea, you might be the person to invest in. You can give a broad description of your idea, right? An elevator pitch that's just enough to get people to get interested, to open up their ears. And at that point in time, if they're still hesitant about signing even a limited confidentiality agreement, take into consideration, the pros versus the cons of entering into that agreement or entering into that financial structure.
And even vetting them as they're vetting you.
Right.
I mean, as an investor, if you feel like, you're like, whoa, they're putting, they're researching me as much as I'm researching them. I think also it kind of shows like, yeah, I want you to invest in me, but I'm not gonna sell myself to get your money. So I want to see proof of funds or just something like, you know what I mean? If they're not willing to sign, because a lot of people are, they don't have no money, they just talking. So.
And we're taking one last question.
I'm Mike Green, co-founder of Scale Up Partners. And a number of years ago when I was a tech entrepreneur, I got some advice. I want your response to it. That advice was at a entrepreneur meetup, and I met a lawyer. And he said, Mike, you're raising capital. I'm gonna tell you the secret to raising capital. He says, expand your network to lawyers and accountants, because every investor that does a deal will use a lawyer for term sheets. And somebody's taking care of the money. So you need to expand your networks to lawyers, because if they like your idea, they know in their network who might be willing to invest in that idea. What are your thoughts about that?
I agree 150%. What I will say is this, as part of my practice, that I do term sheets, and I work with accountants, and I know some people who have, those deep pockets, or the very least, and within my network, as part of my network, are making those connections with people. But just like how everybody should expand their network to include lawyers, lawyers should also expand their network to include non-lawyers. Not saying that we're boring people, but after a while, the debate gets old. But in all seriousness, it is important to expand your network beyond just what you know, so that you have, if you say, hey, even something as simple as, I need a plumber. Make sure that you have somebody on deck you can actually call. That should be part of your network. But with respect to a technology company, you need to know a lawyer, an accountant, a financial planner. You need to know a business lawyer, an intellectual property lawyer, a real estate lawyer if you're talking about purchasing any properties. Someone who knows business development. It's that full range, right? Just like how it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village of professionals to truly raise a business. So that is something that you really have to take into consideration and really build and consciously build.
Final words, ladies.
I wasn't ready. I think in summary, I know that this is the last. We have more panel discussions tomorrow as well. Okay, so to wrap up then, to kind of wrap up just briefly as far as from my experience, my exposure with Black Tech Week, I think it's really important to know that knowledge is power, and it's something that cannot be taken away. It can only be grown. It can only be grown. It's like a baby. You have to feed it. Your business is your businesses, your child, your businesses, your baby. Feed it, nurture it. Think about the things that you would want to give your child, right? To grow, to mature, to become a permanent and contributing member of society. That's what, when we think about children, that's what we think about. We want our children to become contributing members of society. How do you want your business to become a contributing member to society, to an individual, to your own financial pocket, however you want it structured? But that's just something to think about. Think about what you need. Think about your finances, your network, your resources, how you can build and how you can grow. I think it's also very important to really do that stop, drop, and roll, right? To really stop and think about what is going on in the economy, in your industry, within your personal life, within your business structure, within the lives of the resources of the people that you're going to be depending upon. Because when you are considering growing your business or taking it to the next level, those are factors that weigh in on the success of your business. So that would be my last point.
My last point would be stop using money as an excuse. I meet so many business owners and I say, what's holding you back? Money. What's wrong? My finances. Please, it's getting old. There's enough resources out here to figure this thing out. Seriously, and I think that's one of my biggest things for you. So stop using money as an excuse. Anything in life that you want to make happen, you can do it. There's the resources. Tap into your network. Ask. If you're struggling, ask somebody for help. Pride will kill your dreams. And using excuses will also kill your dreams. We don't want to kill our dreams. We want them to flourish, right? So I would say stop using money as an excuse and really look around at your resources and see who can help you. There's people in this room right now that I'm sure that can help you bring your dreams to reality. People that you've met, all these thousands of friends we have on Facebook and 20,000 Instagram followers. Put your dream out there, your goal, and what you're looking for. You're gonna find the person that you need. So also take care of your finances. Don't ignore them, but also don't use it as an excuse.
So like your personal health, I think what the ladies are saying is you have to be concerned about your business health. So just like you have to file your taxes, you also have to take a personal check of your business annually. So I thank you ladies. Dominique, thank you very much. Joycelyn, thank you very much. And we thank Black Tech Week for giving us the opportunity.